Welcome to this short talk where we're going to teach you how to talk about bones. So specifically on bones, first of all, we want to know where that bone is, i.e. its site. The mandible is a bone of the face, the radius is a bone of the forearm, and the femur is a bone of the thigh. So we know where that bone is. Secondly, we want to talk about what the shape of that bone is. It may be a long, thin bone, like the femur. It may be a short, flat bone, like the sternum. It might be really quite a complex shaped bone, like some of the vertebrae. Alternatively, it might be a very small bone which articulates with lots of other ones, such as the carpal bones. And then we've got this other group of bones, which actually are just attaching tendons to each other. And these are called sesamoid bones. An example of that will be the patella. The third thing we want to talk about is those bony relations. What bones are close to what other bones? In the knee joint, we can see we've got 3 bones associated with it. The femur is related to the patella and it's related to the tibia below. Proximally, the femur related to the pelvis. The fourth thing we want to go on to talk about are the bony attachments. These are where muscles are attached to the bone or ligaments are attached to the bone, keeping them stable. These bony attachments can actually distort the shape of the bone and change the shape of the bone. So let's talk about some of those lumps and bumps in a bit more detail. If we look at a femur, this is obviously a long bone. When we're describing a long bone, we talk about the shaft bit being the diaphysis, we talk about the ends being the epiphyses, and the junction between those two is the metaphysis. And that's where these long bones tend to be growing from during childhood. But I want to talk about some of the lumpy bits. Here, this lumpy bit here is where some muscles are attached onto here and they're pulling it out to this point. We call this the greater trochanter. On the other side, we've got the lesser trochanter. On different bones, we might call them something else. We might call them a tubercle. Yeah? And you can see how some of the attachments have pulled different shapes into these bones. So that's enough about those lumpy bits. Let's talk about the blood supply. So, most arteries will have a nutrient artery which goes into the bone to supply that bone. However, the majority of the blood supply will occur where the muscles are attached onto that bone, and then those muscle attachments will supply the surface lining of the bone with blood along the periosteum. So if you can remember those 5 things about how to describe a bone, then you've always got something to talk about, and you can talk about a bone in a logical, stepwise progress.